All right, today's class. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. Who's reading back there for me?
I'll see you, Ariel.
Oh, let's start off with Romans 15 and verse 4.
Romans chapter 15 and verse 4. For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
Read it again.
For whatsoever things were written aforetime were written for our learning, that we, through patience and comfort of the scriptures, might have hope.
All right, so everything that was written in the Bible, because this was written aforetime, Old and New Testament, everything that was written in this Bible was written for our learning, that we through patience and comfort of the scriptures might have hope in everlasting life. All right, let's read Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. Matthew chapter 15 verse 24. This is all going to tie up together.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Who was Christ sent for? Read it, officer.
I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
All right, so Christ was not sent but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. All right, with the prophets, right? And you with the bishop's class where he says the Acts of the Apostles. The Acts of the Apostles, all right? Christ said he was only sent unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel. Where did Paul travel to? Give me some of the locations where Paul traveled to. Raise your hand, brothers. Paul.
He traveled to Ephesus. He traveled to Rome. He traveled Corinth.
Okay.
Or places like that.
All right. Galatia. Yeah, the sisters as well. The sisters want to if y'all want to, just raise your hand. We'll pass the paper around. Brothers, y'all better grab a paper. All right, so Christ said he only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. And where Paul ministries went out, it went all throughout the eastern side of the hemisphere, right? All right, so Christ said he only came for the lost sheep of the house of Israel. How come at that time the 144,000 were not sealed? Men. Abel. Let's see what you got.
Because the prophecies in Deuteronomy 28 wasn't fulfilled yet.
Okay. All praises. What else? All praises. What else? What else? Let's see if Paul could connect the dots.
Because the prophecies say the northern and southern kingdom got to come back together, and they were scattered. And so Paul's ministry, he came to gather back the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
Okay, they were scattered. Who else can add on to that? Let's put the pieces together. Who was ruling in the time of Christ? All right. Manessa. Oh, let's see Google trying to listen. I found these results. For real, boy. Let's make sure you ain't trying to get me, bruh.
Rome was ruling.
Rome was ruling at that time. So where was the bulk of the 10 tribes? Oh, nice.
In Ashtaroth.
Huh?
In Ashtaroth.
Osirith, which is what? Let's get that. Second Esdras. 13 and verse 40. Let's read that.
Second Ezra. Excuse me.
Quick,
Second Ezra, chapter 13, verse 40. Those are the 10 tribes which were carried away prisoners out of their own land in the time of Hosea the king, whom Salmanassar, the king of Assyria, led away captive.
So after the fall of, after Solomon, the kingdom split into two: northern kingdom and southern kingdom. From Ephraim on down, when you look at the 12 tribe chart right there, they were considered the northern kingdom. From Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, that was considered the southern kingdom. Continue reading.
And he carried them over the waters.
All right, for how many would the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, outnumber the 10 tribes? Would the 3 tribes, Judah, Benjamin, and Levi, outnumber Ephraim, Manasseh, Naphtali, Gad, Reuben, Simeon. They would not outnumber them. To carry 10 tribes of the nation of Israel, which are like the sand of the sea, over a water, what would you need? All praises. Read that. Keep reading.
And he carried them over the waters, and so came they into another land.
So when they went to that new land, did they go there as free men? They went there as slaves, right? All right, continue reading, putting the pieces together, letting you know that Deuteronomy 28 is redundant. Read.
But they took this counsel among themselves, that they would leave the multitude of the heathen and go forth into a further country where never mankind dwelt.
Read.
That they might there keep their statutes, which they never kept in their own land.
A statute is a what, brothers? You could call out a law. So in the place where they're going to be at the end, where they're going to sojourn to, God says they're going to be keeping their statutes there. So you must know the laws of God to be able to understand who the people are. Watch this, read.
And they entered into Euphrates.
So God is giving you the passage, the way that they went. Pull up the definition for Osiris. Continue reading.
By the narrow passages of the river. For the Most High then showed signs for them, and held still the flood, till they were passed over.
Read.
For through that country there was a great way to go, namely of a year and a half. And the same region is called Osiris.
So the same region where the 10 tribes of Israel, the bulk of them would dwell, would be a region called Osiris. Let's pull that up in the Jewish Encyclopedia about Osiris. Y'all got it? Just put Osiris. You'll see the first link would be the Jewish Encyclopedia. All praises. Could you read that for me, officer? Osiris. The first paragraph.
Osiris, the name of the land beyond the great river, far away from the habitation of man, in which the 10 tribes of Israel will dwell, observing the laws of Moses until the time of the restoration, according to the fourth Esdras 1345. Columbus identified America with this land.
Columbus did what?
Identified America with this land.
So Columbus understood that America and Osiris were the same places. That's what he based his studies on when he wanted to do a voyage to find new land. It wasn't trying to go find another way to get to China. Nah, he understood he had to have documentation proof that to fund his voyage, and he used he used Second Esdras as one of the books to prove that there were other land masses out there. All right. So we read Osiris. Go to Daniel chapter 9 and verse 11. Because the title of the class, you gladly eat over our dead bodies. A lot of our people don't claim that the Native Americans are the children of Israel, just like the Hispanics. And we think since, okay, that happened to them, well, that necessarily that don't mean I don't have to celebrate it. Oh, man, that's them. That ain't got nothing to do with my people. Actually, it has everything to do with your people. Read that.
Daniel chapter 9 verse 11.
So God is going to let us know precept upon precept. He gives us information about, it's like Hansel and Gretel, finding your way back home. This is what he leaves us for a precept. Read that.
Yea, all Israel have transgressed thy law.
Read.
Even by departing, that they might not obey thy voice. Therefore the curse is poured upon us.
So the curse is poured upon all of Israel because all of Israel transgressed. Read.
And the oath that is written in the law of Moses.
So God says there's an oath that is written in the law of Moses. When God makes an oath, what does he command us to do? He commands us to keep it. So if God is making the oath, he practices what he preaches. You better believe what I have written in the law of Moses is going to happen, because it was a promise that these things were going to happen. Read on.
The servant of God, because we have sinned against him.
What is sin, brothers? Get that for him. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. 1 John chapter 3 and verse 4. This is first class just for the newcomers. What is sin? Because it says we transgressed. Read.
1 John chapter 3 and verse 4.
Read.
Whosoever committeth sin transgresses also the law.
So if you are committing sin, you are breaking God's law. Read.
For sin is the transgression of the law.
So sin is the breaking of God's laws. So if you don't know God's laws, you don't know what sin you're in. So you praying for repentance, you can't pray for something you don't know what you're breaking. So you must know what sin you're breaking, meaning you must know what law you're breaking to know what sin you are committing. All right, go back to Daniel's chapter 9. I think you at 13 now. 12. Read it again.
Daniel chapter 9 and verse 12. And he hath confirmed his words, which he spake against us, and against our judges that judged us, by bringing upon us a great evil.
What is that great evil? Michael?
Deuteronomy 28, verse 15 through 68.
All praises. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 15 through 68. Read on.
Bringing upon us a great evil, for under the whole heaven hath not been done as hath been done upon Jerusalem.
So what did God just let us know? Some Amaziah.
Shalom again, leadership.
Yeah.
God just let us know that everything that happened to Israel happened to no one else.
All praises. So what's written in the law of Moses that identify the curses will only happen to the children of Israel. Let's go. Deuteronomy chapter 28. Deuteronomy chapter 28. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. Read that. When you get Deuteronomy 28 verse 15.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 verse 15. But it shall come to pass, if thou wilt not hearken unto the voice of the Lord thy God, to observe to do all his commandments and his statutes, which I command thee this day.
What will happen?
That all these curses shall come upon thee and overtake thee.
That oath written in the law of Moses that would only happen to the children of Israel if you disobeyed his commandments. All right. So let's read verse 31, if I'm not mistaken. Let me see. 31.
Verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
That what?
Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes.
All right. Do me a favor. Pull up that first video. Destruction of the buffalo herds.
On Earth, 30 million buffalo.
30 million buffaloes. We're playing up to 3 minutes.
Herds up to 25 miles long.
Go back, start from the beginning.
The Great Plains is also home to the most numerous species of large wild mammal on Earth. 30 million buffalo. Herds up to 25 miles long race to summer breeding grounds. A collision course with the modern world. The railroad brings a new kind of hunter to the Great Plains. Driven by profit. Fresh from the carnage of the Civil War. $2 million rifles are in circulation. Over 1 million veterans trained to use them have a new target in their sights. Frank Mayer, Civil War vet, buffalo hunter.
I had nothing to look forward to in civilization. I was crazy about guns.
Mayer tracks 2,000-pound buffalo, easily capable of crushing a man. He picks them off from 200 yards.
If you could kill them, what they brought was yours. They were walking gold pieces.
Hunters harvest the buffalo for its hide. In 1872, they shipped over 1 million out of Kansas alone, worth $3 a piece back east. On a good day, Mayer earns more than the president.
What's the timestamp?
Factories use long strips of buffalo leather as drive belts.
3 minutes, up to 3 minutes.
Small pieces become coats and shoes. To meet demand, hunters kill 8,000 buffalo a day for their hides alone.
For Americans, this is progress because this is a natural resource. From the Indian perspective, they couldn't understand what the white people were doing. But of course, they knew that the decimation of those buffalo herds would change their lives forever.
The Plains Indians depend on the buffalo and worship them.
The buffalo were our strength, from whence we came, and at whose breast we suck as babies all our lives.
Black elk is 6 years old when the railroad arrives. Unlike the white hunters, his people waste none of their kill.
All right, that's it on that. That's it on
Sinew.
that. I'm sure that was 3 minutes. But yeah, read verse 31 again.
Verse 31. Thine ox shall be slain before thine eyes, and thou shalt not eat thereof.
What did that video just tell you? That was a vital point. That was a vital resource for food. They ate the buffalo, and they ain't just shoot 8,000 a day. They killed it when they needed to eat. Read.
Thine ass shall be violently taken away from before thy face, and shall not be restored to thee.
Read.
Thy sheep shall be given unto thine enemies.
Read.
And thou shalt have none to rescue them.
Nobody was fighting for the Native Americans saying, hey, don't kill all those buffaloes. It was to the point where they're about to be extinct, where Americans say, you got to stop killing them. There's only a few of them left. That was at the end. But they used that. That was their tactic to use to push the Native Americans or Gad and Reuben further inland to keep them away. Not only that, but to starve them out as well. Go to that picture, because you probably seen this in school, but you never put the pieces together. Go to that picture. There's a link right underneath that first one. There you go, right there. That's the head of all the buffaloes. This is what they did. And you see this, you've seen this in class, and you never put the pieces together. Because they made sure when Jeremiah 50 and 30 would be read, you wouldn't be able to connect the dots with your own people. Where in history did that happen to the African Americans, the Jamaicans? So the Deuteronomy chapter 28, it fits Gad and Reuben. It fits the Native Americans. Watch this. Go to the next video. Go to the next video. Lectures in history. We're going to watch the whole thing. Indian slave trade in the colonial South.
Two other people. We could talk about different groups that become slave raiders all day. There's lots that we could mention, but two more that I want to just introduce very quickly because they are important to our story later are the Yamasee and the Creek. And these are new peoples that are forming, these confederacies that are emerging, both the Yamasee and the Creek. They're made up of remnant populations from chiefdoms that have collapsed, from villages that have been targeted by slave raiders, and those that have been hit hard by disease. And so the Yamasee and the Creek are important because along with the Chickasaw, they are going to be the principal slavers, the principal allies of the English from the mid-1680s on to the Yamasee War. And they are especially going to target people where? All right, very good.
The ones near the water.
Some work here in a second, so stay with me. They are especially going to target peoples in Florida. And we've already kind of introduced this. Florida is strategically important to the Spanish. Very important. Because a lot of the New World wealth that's coming out of Central and South America is being shipped around the coast of Florida back to Spain. And so as a military outpost, it's very, very significant to their empire. But Florida is on the northern fringes of this Spanish empire. And it's a weak outpost. And they're more concerned with bringing this mission system to native peoples of the region, trying to convert them, trying to assimilate them. And it has limited success. I'm not going to get into all the details there because we have a short class. But they're particularly active among people like the Appalachee, who we read about. a group of about 10,000 or more, heavily fortified towns around modern, Tallahassee. And they're going to have a fairly close, not a perfect relationship, but a fairly close relationship with the Spanish. So while they're formidable, the odds are against them, because these slavers who are coming down, are bent on getting slaves, and they're heavily armed. And so they are going to, if you look on the map here on the right, if you look on the map, you can see that, as early as the late 1650s up into 1711, to the getting towards the Tuscarora and Yamasee War, you can see how extensive these raids were. That they even went to the tip of the Florida Keys looking for Indian slaves.
All right, give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32.
Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 32. Thy sons and thy daughters shall be given unto another people, and thine eyes shall look and fail with longing for them all the day long.
So while they were hitting the coast, they would take Native Americans and they'll take Native Americans and they'll enslave them and sell them back to Spain. So give me verse 68. Watch this. Before you go there, actually pull up this guy right here, Pedro Menendez. Pedro Menendez de Aviles, a Spanish conquistador. Right. Read that. Pull him up. I just posted that article in the Sabbath class. No, you can talk about him while they pulling it up.
All right, so he was one of the conquistadors. So he did a lot of slaughter to our people. Like also talking about the young kids and the daughter. Believe it or not, he was one of them that raped the young daughters as well. He raped them. Yeah, he was a pedophile. He was a pedophile. He took anything that he wanted, he took it. There was no one that could stop him, no one that could say, hey, don't do that. No, he did what pleased him. What pleased him the most time was young kids. And he was always ruthless. He killed the parents. Anything he could put his hands on, he murdered, he stole. Everything that Esau have done, he continued. But this guy, he took people's houses, he hanged them, as we see for Judas. But he also put Northern Kingdom on a pedestal, on a pole of, hanging.
Pike. It's called a pike.
And that's how he crucified us a lot of times. In different ways they can think of cruelty, he have done it as well.
You got the article?
Yeah, you got the article? You gonna pull something, Cap? Yeah.
I'll read it. Pedro Menendez de Aviles, Spaniard who founded St. Augustine, Florida, and was a classic example of the conquistador, intrepid, energetic, loyal, and brutal.
And what?
And brutal.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth.
He came from Spain, read.
A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
And you won't understand his language. And it says he was they had a fierce countenance. Watch this. Pull up the article. The article where it says the true Thanksgiving. It was based on this man right here. He was the first one to land in Florida. We're living Thanksgiving, 5 national parks. Now, each park is going to show you a different account about Thanksgiving and what they think Thanksgiving mean for the Native Americans. But watch this.
Scroll down.
Scroll down to the point that I want. If I'm not mistaken, I wrote it down.
First.
It's, let me see. Nope, go down. Go down. I think it's the next one. That right there.
Okay.
There you go.
The other first Thanksgiving. Thanksgiving is rooted in European. I'm going to read that again. Thanksgiving is rooted in European holiday traditions. that date back centuries before the first pilgrim set his buckled shoes on Plymouth Rock.
But now they say, oh, it's about family coming together. No, these Spaniards been doing this.
Right.
They came over here and ate over our dead bodies with it. Read.
In all likelihood, the first Thanksgiving on American soil took place on September 8th, 1565, when Pedro Menendez de Avilés and 800 Spanish settlers found the settlement of St. Augustine in what is now Florida. Soon after landing, the settlers celebrated a mass of Thanksgiving and enjoyed a great feast near the location of present-day Castillo de San Marcos National Monument.
Now, when we read about that conquistador, what was one of the characteristics about him? He was what? He was brutal. So when he came over here in Florida, was he coming, oh, giving, hey, here's a turkey. Let's eat together here. Let me give you some corn. Here's some smallpox blankets. That's what he was doing. He wasn't coming showing peaceable words. Well, he did do that, and then he stabbed them in the back. But his motive was not to gather them to hold hands and sing kumbaya. Right. That wasn't his intentions. His intentions was to conquer them. That's what the whole conquistador mean.
Hey, also, you read, he said he enjoyed, right? How was he able to enjoy? Remember, because when he landed in St. Augustine, we was there. How was he able to enjoy? He killed all the head tribes. He didn't kill all of them, but the mass, he killed them to have what? Our people afraid of him. That's how he was able to enjoy. He said, listen, I ain't got to worry about nothing. I already made them afraid. Look, I already got half of their people, got after their kids. They doing whatever I want. So today, I'm going to feast and enjoy. That's what he did to our people.
And like what you said, Cap, you said that it's a European holiday. And when you read on, the key words that you read, it says the first one on American soil, meaning that they were doing it before that. That's how they knew the customs on what you're supposed to do, eating and drinking, or whatever it is that they do. They knew the customs because at some point somewhere else they was doing it already. So it ain't no American tradition. It's a European tradition.
Right. Give me Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68. Deuteronomy chapter 28 and verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again.
Go to Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2, first class. We're going to make sure everybody get the understanding. Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2.
Exodus chapter 20 and verse 2.
Read.
I am the Lord thy God, which have brought thee out of the land of Egypt.
Read.
Out of the house of bondage.
Egypt is synonymous for bondage. You look up bondage, it's going to tell you the synonyms: slavery. What were we doing in Egypt? Exodus chapter 1, read verse 11 to 13. Exodus chapter 1, verse 11 through 13.
Exodus chapter 1, verse 11. Therefore, they did set over them taskmasters.
They set over us taskmasters, read.
To afflict them with their burdens.
Same thing when we was in the sugar cane fields. Same thing when we was in the cotton fields, read.
And they built for Pharaoh treasure cities.
We built up Washington. We built up Florida. We built up New York. Read, it wasn't just Negroes building up America. They used Native American slaves. They used Hispanic slaves. Read.
Python and Ramses. But the more they afflicted them, the more they multiplied.
We don't die, we multiply. Read.
And they were grieved because of the children of Israel. And the Egyptians made the children of Israel to serve with rigor.
Serve with what?
With rigor.
You only gonna drink 1 cup a day. You only gonna eat an ounce of rice a day. That they made us serve with rigor. We barely had anything to drink, barely anything to eat. They did the same thing to the Native Americans. They did the same thing to the Hispanics. Read.
Verse 14.
That was down to 13?
Yes, sir.
All right, let's go back. Oh, yeah, get 14 too.
You got to read it quick, man.
Verse 14. And they made their lives bitter with hard bondage.
They made our lives what?
Bitter and with hard bondage.
Still to this day. You guys, once you hear that alarm clock, you don't wake up and be like, woohoo! You don't do that. You wake up dragging your feet like, man, if I could put my foot up in my boss behind.
Sitting on the edge of the bed for another 10 minutes.
Right. You like this on your phone. They're trying to milk every minute you have before you have to jump in that car and have to hit bumper-to-bumper traffic. Watch this. That's it on 14?
In mortar and in brick and in all manner of service in the field.
It says in all manner of service. Behind in restaurants, who's in the kitchen? Us. In the factories, who's in the factories? Us. All the hard jobs, the janitor, the custodian, everything. Us. We're the laborers. Construction site. Us. We're the ones that have to serve with rigor. All right. Let's go back to the curses. Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 68. And the Lord shall bring thee into Egypt again with ships. By the way whereof I spake unto thee.
Read.
Thou shalt see it no more again. And there ye shall be sold unto your enemies for bondmen and bondwomen.
So when we read that article and when we looked at the University of West Virginia, they told you that was a profitable business. They sailed across the coast of Florida and all throughout the United States, snatching slaves, snatching Native Americans, selling them over into Spain. Why would I have to sell a Native American to another Native American? Nah. They would have fought back to get their brothers back. They sold them over to Spain, and it's in these books as well. So, read verse, if I'm not mistaken. No, drop that. You finished 68, right?
Yes, sir.
Go to, they don't understand the language. 38, 37? Deuteronomy 28. 49.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 49. The Lord shall bring a nation against thee from far, from the end of the earth, as swift as an eagle flieth. A nation whose tongue thou shalt not understand.
Let's pull up the books, the lost tribes and promised lands. Let's read that first one.
So, brothers, y'all see that? Write down that title. Turn me up now back here. Write down that title so you can go on Amazon and grab these books. These are historical records that Esau has written down, and you know what they say, you want to hide anything from a Negro, put it where? We don't read, so now you know, so grab these books, okay? And we'll tell you to save you time for reading all the monotonous Edomite talk. We already highlighted the stuff for you, okay? So it's by Ronald Sanders, Lost Tribes and the Promised Lands, the origins of American racism.
Okay. Let's read what year this is in. This is in the year in September 1644. Let's go.
Where you want me to start at?
No, that's just how. I just wanted the year for the reference.
Okay, 1644. Okay.
Let's go to the next page.
Okay, it says here. Can you zoom in on it? Are you able to zoom in? There we go. Okay, it says those Indians, he told himself, they are Hebrews.
So they already let him know what language they spoke. This is in one of the books. Jump down.
Is that the next picture or what? Okay, so it says just the highlighted part.
Yeah, the main part.
Scroll down some, man. Stop at the top of the. Yeah. Okay, so it said, I'm going to start the paragraph. It says, waving a banner high in the air, the Indian guide soon was greeted by a puff of smoke far beyond the other bank of the river. In response to his signal, the two men waited. Eventually, a canoe appeared bearing 3 men and a woman, all of them Indians, to the place where Francisco and Montesinos were standing at the water's edge. The woman got off and spoke to Francisco in an Indian tongue that Montesinos could not understand. Although he could perceive that he was being identified in the conversation, she then turned to her male companions to explain the situation. Upon hearing her words, they rose, went over to Montesinos, and to his utter astonishment. Now, right there, that's written as Yiddish. That's the modern Hebrew. I'm going to say it how I've heard it. Shemaya Yasha Allah, Allahanawa Yahweh Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. They have recited in Hebrew the fundamental credo of Judaism.
So he understood. Wait up, these people spoke the language of the Jews over here in the eastern side of the hemisphere. How can they quote the same credo? So he's putting the pieces together. Not only that, but people said that the Native Americans spoke the same language that the conquistadors spoke. Same thing with the Hispanics, that they spoke the same language. No, they did not.
Not at all.
Watch this. Jump down to the last verse.
Go back to it.
The last highlight.
It says, I'm going to read it. Shema Yasha Allah, Allah Hanawa Yahweh Akkad. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God, the Lord is one. They had recited in Hebrew, the fundamental credo of Judaism. A brief conversation then ensued in their common ancestral tongue.
So this is the language that they originally spoke. Read.
According to Montezinos, whose fluency in it is almost as perplexing to the reader as his narrative as it is that the three mysterious new companions. They told him that they were themselves of the tribe of Reuben, and that the tribe of Joseph lived on an island nearby.
So they themselves said they were from the tribe of Reuben. This is an account from a Spaniard with a native Seminole Indian, a Florida Indian.
Quick question: who's the tribe of Joseph that lived by Reuben? Who is it, bro? Let's see. Onias. Well, no. Stop right there. Joel. Let's see, Joel. Northern Kingdom need to be answering these questions. Who was that tribe of Joseph?
Shalom, sir.
Shalom.
Tribe of Ephraim and Manasseh as well.
Ephraim and Manasseh. So they was in Florida, and then those islands nearby were what? Cuba and what we know as Puerto Rico. They knew where their brothers were. They knew where they got dropped off from the ship when they came over way back when.
So they started picking pieces on where they wanted to go. So you know, when reading the precepts and from the historical documentation, you know who dwelt in which area. Watch this. Go to the next book. From Columbus to Castro, the history of the Caribbean.
From Columbus to Castro, make sure y'all write this down, y'all. From Columbus to Castro, the history of the Caribbean. From Columbus to Castro.
The underlined parts.
Okay, the underlined part. It says, he repeatedly misinterpreted and unconsciously distorted the information he received from the natives.
Read.
Whose language he could not understand.
So the conquistadors did not understand the language that the people in the Hispaniola and the people in the Caribbean spoke. Read.
Go back to it. It says, and who could not understand his.
So it wasn't no como esta and say, amigo, hermano, long time no see me, brother.
I'm glad y'all
They
brought
did
that
not
up.
say that.
All praises.
They did not understand what they were saying. Watch this. Jump down to the next one.
In the next underlined part, it says, he actually sent a Jewish interpreter on an expedition.
So they needed translators. Let you know, think about this. When God confounded the language, it was just a certain sect that understood the Hebrew language. And it was passed down through the line of Shem, Abraham, down to Isaac, to Jacob, and to the 12 tribes of Israel. Right. The only people that could have spoke the language of Hebrew on this side of the earth, compared to the documentation of the Bible and the historical references, were only the 10 tribes of the children of Israel.
Right.
It wasn't no Japanese or the Chinese through the Bering Strait. They ain't speak that language.
Right.
Watch this. Go to the next one. The Trail of Tears.
Okay, write this down, y'all. Go ahead, Officer Luke. Officer Luke up here.
I want to just say it's crazy how the Most High is a mastermind. He had us get conquered in Europe as the Moors so he could have translators come over here and translate for the conquistadors when they came on this side of the earth.
Yeah,
because they brought over one brother named Estevanico.
Yep.
His real name is Stephen when you translate it from that language that they were speaking. So it's crazy.
All praise.
So that book, Trail of Tears, The Rise and Fall of the Cherokee Nations. Okay. Go up. Okay. So we starting at the investigations?
Yes.
Okay. It says investigations were made in the 17th. Where we at?
Put it back up.
Investigations were made in the 17th and 18th century to determine whether the American Indians were the lost tribes of Judah. And it was pretty well proved both yes and no, and unprovable either way. skipping down to the next highlighted part, it says Indians were indeed one of the lost tribes and wrote 70,000 words on the subject at a time when printed words were dear. He used as evidence such topics as their division into tribes, their language and dialects, their festivals, feasts, and religious rites.
So they weren't keeping Thanksgiving.
Right.
They had their own set of feasts before the conquistadors came up. And the guy that interrogated the Native Americans says, the way they act, the way they eat, the way their festivities, the way they separate themselves in tribes by Seminole, Cherokee, and all these different ones, it's similar to the same thing that their ancestors were doing in the Bible.
Put this on camera. So this is the book that he's reading from a different book. So this is called cross-referencing. That book you read that we just saw was The Trail of Tears, right? And this is where the actual stuff is coming from. It's called Adair's History of the American Indians. If you can look this up on Amazon, okay? This is what he's talking about. All of that's written in this book, but we're just going to read the highlighted part from here. Go back to it. Okay, it says Indians. So if you look up just 2 lines right there, it says James Adair. That's the book. An Irish trader who lived among the Cherokees for 40 years decided the Indians were indeed one of the lost tribes and wrote 70,000 words on the subject at a time when printed words were dear. He used as evidence such topics as their division into tribes, their language and dialects, their festivals, feasts, and religious rites, their absolutions and anointings, their laws of uncleanness, their avoidance of unclean things, their practices of marriage, divorce, and punishment for adultery, their ornaments.
So the ornaments go into their clothing, meaning their fringes. He says, I can tell that these are from the lost tribes of the children of Israel. I can tell that these people are the children of Israel. Go back to Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. Let's put it all together. Matthew chapter 15, verse 24.
Matthew chapter 15 and verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep of the house of Israel.
So, with the question I stated before, could that 144,000 could have been sealed back then in the time of Christ? How come now? How come? Joel. We just read it. We went through all that just to bring that home. You should have proof now, or a better understanding on how come it couldn't have been fulfilled back then.
I'm going to say scripture.
You don't need a scripture.
Oh,
I just
really?
need explanation.
Well, I was going to say that the time of the Gentiles has not been fulfilled, so their time has to pass before Christ comes back to set up our time.
No. La Wahhabia.
Shalom leadership. Because the 10 tribes were already on this side of this world.
How would they got the gospel? Because remember, they were considered no longer a people. When could they have got the message to say that you guys could come back? That we're coming back as one? That message would have never got to them. There would have been, there's 10 tribes on this side of the earth that didn't think that God loved them anymore. Because God said in the book of Joel, right? Hosea, you're no longer my people in chapter 1. They were there at that time. They weren't on this side of the earth. So at that moment, they thought that God had nothing to do with them, even though they still kept the customs because that's where they went to try to get back good with God. What you about to say, Paul?
The question was the 144,000 sealed. They couldn't have been sealed because the Southern Kingdom hadn't come over here in slavery to give them the gospel that.
There you go. Because you remember, it says he shall raise the tents of Judah first. All right. Let's go to Genesis chapter 49. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. You about to say something?
Yeah, I was going to say that the history actually proves when you hear people say God loves everybody, right? The history just proves
that God doesn't love everybody. Can you read Matthew real quick? Matthew 15, verse 24 one more time.
Matthew chapter 15, verse 24. But he answered and said, I am not sent, but unto the lost sheep.
The lost sheep
of the house of Israel.
The lost sheep of the house of Israel. Again, these people didn't know. They were keeping the feast days and so on and so forth, but they were calling themselves by other names. So when these conquistadors came over here, they started recognizing that these people have the same customs, the same religious rights as the people of Israel. That same book that you mentioned before, Lost Tribes in the Promised Land, actually lays out how Christopher Columbus didn't come here by accident.
Right.
He knew that the people over here were the children of Israel because of what was written in the scriptures in 2nd Ezra 13, 40 through 46. He understood that. So that proves that they understood by history, by our history, the Bible, that these people are God's chosen people. Therefore, God can't love everybody. Everybody can't be lost. There's only one people on the face of the earth whose history was lost, whose history was taken from them, in order for them to now have to be found all over again.
All praise. Good point.
Right. Give me the article Seminole. The Seminole. Seminole?
Seminole. It says here from Wikipedia. The Seminole are a Native American people originally from Florida. Today, they principally live in Oklahoma, Trail of Tears, with a minority in Florida, and comprise 3 federally recognized tribes: the Seminole Tribe of Oklahoma, the Seminole Tribe of Florida, and the Miccosukee Tribe of Indians of Florida. We got to find all of them, as well as independent groups. The Seminole Nation emerged in a process of ethnogenesis from various Native American groups who settled in Florida in the 18th century. That's wrong. Most significant.
You see how they try to confuse you, right?
Yeah, they got here in the 18th
That's
century.
why we read the books, and not only that, but when we read with the conquistador.
Yeah, it was 15 something.
Right.
1644. It says, in the 18th century, most significantly, northern Muskogee Creeks from what is now Georgia and Alabama, the word Seminole.
This is what I wanted. The word Seminole
is derived from the Muskogee word Seminole, which may itself be derived from the Spanish word Cimarron, meaning runaway or wild one.
So it says runaway or wild one.
Dang, that's heavy.
Let's go to Genesis chapter 49. Genesis chapter 49, let's read verse 1.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 1. And Jacob called unto his sons and said, Gather yourselves together, that I may tell you that which shall befall you in the last days.
Read.
Gather yourselves together, and hear, ye sons of Jacob, and hearken unto Israel your father.
Read.
Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, and the excellency of power.
Read.
Unstable as water, thou shalt not excel, because thou wentest up to thy father's bed, then defoulest thou it. He went up to my couch.
Stop right there. Go back to the article. Go back to the article. I want to see if the brothers put it together. Runaway or wild one. Where did you read that in Genesis 49 verses 3 and 4? Who's that back there? Alfred?
Shalom leadership. Unstable as water.
Officer.
Oh, officer.
That boy said bishop. Boy, you trying to get away. Golly, bro. Hey, what it said?
He said unstable as water.
Unstable as water. Wild one. It's letting you know runaway because they were known as nomads. It was hard to track them. When the cavalry, the cavalry with the U.S. cavalry with Andrew Jackson, when they was trying to conquer them in the first Seminole Wars, they couldn't catch them. They'll be here in one place, next day in another place, next day in another place. They were hard to track. Watch this. Not only that, but the first part where it says beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, the excellency of power. Go to the next article, Seminole Wars. Seminole Wars. You're going to find out something about Reuben.
Seminole Wars, 1817 to 1818, 1835 to 42, 55 to 58. 3 conflicts between the United States and the Seminole Indians of Florida in the period before the American Civil War that ultimately resulted in the opening of the Seminoles' desirable land for white exploitation and settlement. Right here. The First Seminole War began over attempts by U.S. authorities to recapture runaway black slaves living among Seminole bands.
Whoa. Read that part again.
It says the First Seminole War began over attempts by U.S. authorities to recapture runaway black slaves living among Seminole bands.
So when our ancestors were running away, we sought refuge from our brothers Reuben. But now you eating over their dead bodies.
Dang.
They used to help save us from our enemies, from our oppressors. But now you eat over their dead bodies on Thanksgiving.
Damn.
What type of spit in their face that you just committed on every third every third Thursday of November?
Last Thursday.
Every last Thursday?
Every last Thursday.
Every last Thursday of November. When they used to try to keep us alive. Read that in Genesis 49 and verse 3 again.
Genesis chapter 49 and verse 3. Reuben, thou art my firstborn, my might, and the beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity and the excellency of power.
That's dignity. He understood. Wait up. The same thing they doing to us, they doing to y'all. Man, you come amongst, man, nah. You gonna live amongst us. You can marry our women. We'll give our daughters to your sons. You give your sons to our daughters. They did that. And even when Esau gave them slaves, they still made them princes amongst them. Yep. So it says, read that part again. The beginning of my strength, the excellency of dignity, the excellency of power. Yet they did nothing wrong to me. You killing them just like you killing us. Why I'm going to make him a slave? Why when they run away and they come to us, I'm not going to treat them as slaves. I'm going to treat them as our brothers. And letting you know, when Esau came, he had the same type of mindset. I'm not going to fight you guys. I don't even know who you are. We don't even understand each other's languages. So he tried to understand the conquistadors, and that's why, give me Songs, chapter 55 and verse 20. Songs 55 and verse 20.
That's why, what's that? Taino means what?
Peaceable ones. It was easy for them to be, what's the word? They were gullible. Read that.
Psalms chapter 55 and verse 20. He hath put forth his hands against such as be at peace with him. He hath broken his covenant. The words of his mouth were smoother than butter, but war was in his heart. His words were softer than oil, yet were they drawn swords.
So, the Native Americans, when they spoke with them, they thought they meant good by what they were going to do. But the whole time, the war was in their heart. When they was trading, the means of trading was how they got them to get smallpox. They was giving them blankets for things to keep them alive because they weren't used to the atmosphere in America. They weren't used to the climate. They weren't used to the animals. So they traded thinking, okay, we're keeping them alive. Surely they're trying to do good by us by giving us these blankets to stay warm during the winter. But at the whole time, war was in their hearts. They was trying to eliminate them from off the land. Deuteronomy chapter 33. 33 verse 17.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 17. And Jacob journeyed to Succoth and built him a house and made booths for his cattle. Therefore the name...
33, Deuteronomy 33 verse 17.
Genesis, excuse me.
33 verse 17.
Deuteronomy chapter 33 and verse 17.
The reason why we start from here, Gad, is in verse 20. But I want you to understand something about this. We read in the book, and I want to see who's been paying attention. Read that.
His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorns. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth.
So Ephraim, the head tribe of the northern kingdom, shall push the people to the end of the earth. All right. So when you go Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. It's not saying, the end of the earth Don't think about that Christopher Columbus theory that if you keep selling, you're going to fall off. Like, and then when the four corners, oh, see, the earth is flat. It got four corners. Brother, read that. Deuteronomy 28, verse 64.
Deuteronomy chapter 28, verse 64. And the Lord shall scatter thee among all people.
Read.
From the one end of the earth.
From one end of the earth,
even
the eastern hemisphere. Read.
Even unto the other.
To the western hemisphere. Go back to Deuteronomy 33.
Deuteronomy chapter 33, verse 17.
So what side were they on the first time? Who said that? They were on the eastern side. Read.
His glory is like the firstling of his bullock, and his horns are like the horns of unicorn. With them he shall push the people together to the ends of the earth.
To what end? The western side. All praises. I'll keep reading.
And they are the 10,000s of Ephraim, and they are the 10,000s of Manasseh.
All right, and it keeps going. Jump down to 20.
Verse 20. And of Gad he said, Blessed be he that enlargeth Gad. He dwelleth as a lion, and teareth the arm with the crown of the head.
So if you ever heard about the if I'm not mistaken, the Blood Brothers Pact, that's what they call it. They'll cut their hands and they'll shake on it. They'll shake on it. Not only that, but Gad has where the leaders will wear the crown of feathers on their heads. Read on.
Verse
you about 21. To say something? Continue reading.
Verse 21. And he provided the first part for himself.
He did what?
He provided the first part for himself.
Read.
Because there, in a portion of the lawgiver, was he seated, and he came with the heads of the people. He executed the justice of the Lord and his judgments with Israel.
So when you read about the fighting, it was always the North American Indians fighting back when the settlers came. The Seminoles were trying to deal with them, but they eventually fought back. But the North American Indians, they weren't having it. And not only that, they were the ones that made majority of the treaties with the colonists, with the United States of America, which America broke majority of them all. Yeah, all of them, right? 500 treaties? 400? 500? It was 500. He broke every last one of them. Now watch this. Give me Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14 and 15. The reason why I'm going through this, you may see it on your test. Lord's will, y'all caught those precepts.
Jeremiah chapter 16, verse 14. Therefore, behold, the days come, said the Lord, that it shall no more be said, the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel out of the land of Egypt.
But what?
But the Lord liveth, that brought up the children of Israel from the land of the north.
What is this place called, brothers? North America. When they interrogated Reuben, what did Reuben say? What did Reuben say? We are from the tribe of Reuben, and let's see. Raise your hand. Raise your hand. I want to make sure. Joel. No. Abel. Let's see.
Joseph.
What about Joseph?
Oh, Ephraim, Manasseh.
What about them?
They were in the they said that they're from the tribe of Reuben, and their brothers were in the island next.
That they were in the islands nearby.
Yeah.
So Reuben already gave you the location, and Reuben was in Florida. And now you read about that it would no more be said that the children that were brought up out of Egypt, but that they come from the land of the north. Letting you know that there would be people that there would be the 10 tribes in the North America. So when you read about Genesis 49, you read Simeon and Levi, they'll dwell together. You read about Chile, which is, if I'm not mistaken, Naphtali, right? And then that's Asher? That's Asher. You read about, Naphtali. Yeah, he's Southern King. You killing me, man. All right, you read about the Argentinians, Naphtali. So they give you prophecies about the other 10 tribes. They never list, you never have a full physical location of Gad until you find out when he got overcame by what? A troop, by the U.S. Cavalry. That gives you that pinpoint location that Gad was always where Reuben was at. So they give you that location. Now give me the federal laws. Give me the federal laws. The article of federal laws.
Federal and state holidays. The federal government and all state governments have passed laws.
Have passed what, Cap?
Have passed laws. Check. Designating certain days each year as public holidays. Although they are several days each year that are recognized by the federal government and all state governments as holidays, each state recognizes additional days each year that may or may not be recognized by other states.
Scroll down.
Although the federal government and state governments have established public holidays, it does not necessarily mean that all employees are required to give employees these days off work or pay employees premium pay for working on their designated holidays. In fact, except for private employers in Massachusetts and Rhode Island, no other states or the federal government require private employees to grant employees time off any state designated holidays or pay them extra when they do.
Next paragraph.
On the other hand, most states and the federal government have laws that require public employees to grant employees leave on some or all public holidays or provide employees extra compensation when they do. However, in a minority of states, the law is either silent regarding holiday leave for public employees or specifically delegates the decision regarding holiday leave to a particular state agency.
So these federal holidays are set up by a law. Let's read those federal holidays. Go back to it.
Federal holidays. The following list is the days designated by the federal government as public holidays. New Year's Day. Birthday of Martin Luther King Jr. Washington's birthday. Memorial Day. Independence Day. Labor Day. Columbus Day. Veterans Day. Thanksgiving Day.
Thanksgiving Day. Let's get that. Wisdom of Solomon. Chapter 14 and verse 16. Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14 and verse 16. We clearly see Thanksgiving has nothing to do with our people. And the things that it has to do with our people was the massacre of our own people. You gladly eat over our dead bodies. Let's read that.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law.
It says, an ungodly custom grown strong was kept as a law. They made sure, they put a law to make sure that you keep Thanksgiving. Oh, we make sure you got that day off. Go eat with your family.
And this is the irony of it, too. Who do y'all know who put into law that Thanksgiving was a federal holiday? Who knows? Amazon E from you raised your hand. Guess who it was that made this a national federal holiday that all of you got to keep? Who was it?
Abraham Lincoln.
Abraham Lincoln.
He had slaves. For real.
The president, quote unquote, freed you Negroes, made the holiday that you have to keep, or you don't have to keep, but it made it federal law to give you work off so you can celebrate the massacre of your brothers.
Right.
That's crazy.
Let's read that again. Thank you, Master, huh?
We love Abe Lincoln. He freed, that's what Kanye say. Abraham Lincoln freed the slaves.
He should have read up more. He said, if there was any other way, I wouldn't have had freedom. Read that.
Wisdom of Solomon, chapter 14, verse 16. Thus, in process of time, an ungodly custom, grown strong, was kept as a law. And graven images were worshipped by the commandments of kings.
So an ungodly custom grown strong by a law. How strong has it gotten since it started? Give us some examples, brothers. All right. Who kept Thanksgiving in here, men? Who kept Thanksgiving in here?
Come on, man. I know y'all got some examples.
I don't lie now. I'm not saying right now, since you joined the truth. In the world, who kept Thanksgiving?
Hey, I remember I did.
All right. Matthias. From what you know now, or from what you do know, how has it grown strong to the point where we don't even think about that it's the massacre of our own brothers and sisters?
Because now we look at it as, it's just a day for a family to get together and eat.
Okay. Somebody else. Joel. And then Amazon.
I know one example is like my workplace. We sell certain holiday foods like pumpkin spice this, apple spice that, and it sort of blends in with, oh, this is autumn time. It's like, no, this is like they hide it in a different kind of marketing. You know?
All praises. Amaziah. Oh, nice after. Oh, nice, you last one.
I was gonna say something similar, but in most employers, they'll hand out turkeys like a week in advance for you to prepare for the holiday.
Right. You got all nice?
For the football people who play every Thanksgiving.
Right.
Cowboys and Indians and the Redskins.
Every time. That was smooth. That was smooth.
The Cowboys and the Redskins, they do
every Thanksgiving. They do it. An ungodly custom grown strong to the point where you're not even thinking about genocide no more. You're thinking about the Cowboys playing the Redskins. Think about it. I ain't gonna lie. During that time, that's when grandma, mama put their foot in every food and everything. That's when you chase every pumpkin, not every pumpkin, but every pie you could name under the sun. Cranberry, everything. That's the time they break the bank. Any and everything you can eat is on that table that day. Who wouldn't want to keep Thanksgiving?
Hey, that's the day that nobody eat breakfast.
Right.
Hey, wicked.
Right.
They can't wait.
That's the day you leave grandma with about 4 plates. You got one for Thursday, Friday, Saturday. You know you got extra plates. An ungodly custom grown strong.
Y'all stay in the spirit, man.
Right.
Now,
stay in the spirit, because we about to.
Here's a way that a lot of us missed it is retail. It grown strong that as soon as what? It's out already.
Right. It's already out. During October.
During the ungodly hell day of Halloween, they got Thanksgiving stuff up already for you to get.
Right.
It's grown strong through marketing that way. They put it right in your face so you can get it.
Right.
And now they're doing commercials too. Now
watch this. An ungodly custom grown strong. Give me Sirach chapter 34 and verse 4. Because we know the origin of Thanksgiving was the massacre of our own brothers and sisters. And our people gladly eat over their dead bodies. Read that.
Sirach chapter 34 and verse 4. Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come?
Read it again.
Of an unclean thing, what can be cleansed? And from that thing which is false, what truth can come?
Now that was a question posed. He says, what clean thing could come out of an unclean thing? Job answered it. Go to Job chapter 14 and verse 4. Job answers that same question. If you go on precept, you can. You just wash it off. Think about it. To find gold, you have to dig through the dirt. See, you found a clean thing out of an unclean thing. Watch this, Job chapter 14 and verse 4.
Job chapter 14 and verse 4. Who can bring a clean thing out of an unclean? Not one.
Not one. You cannot make Thanksgiving a good thing. There's no way to twist it up to say, see, this is a good thing. Hey, Thanksgiving is good.
And check this. This is how you know you can never, because a lot of people throw that it's a time for family to get together, right? When you are actually getting together to eat over our brothers' dead bodies, you are actually practicing the sin of gluttony. Right. Covetous. Oh, I gotta eat this. I gotta eat that. Oh, I'm gonna eat till I'm full. And that's the spirit of gluttony and covetousness. So even if you throw the family into it, it still ain't a clean thing. God say.
Right.
And like you said, Cap, what happens on those days? Christmas, Easter, whatever, Thanksgiving or whatever. What happens on those days more than any other days imaginable? I give it to you because we don't got the time. Our families fight. They throw turkeys and drunk.
It was always drunk. I forget it. I forget his name.
Calls at the police department go up dramatically.
Suicide
because they killing each other, fighting, stabbing each other, everything. How is that godly?
Right. Supposed to be about family.
Isaac got he got his hand up for strong. He was.
Shalom, and we praying to white Jesus big.
Oh yeah. What you thankful for?
Yep.
Oh, I'm thankful for this food. Oh, I'm thankful for grandma for making this. Oh, I'm thankful for mama being here. Oh, I'm thankful. You thankful for Caesar Borgia. That is not Jesus Christ. Get Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31. Proverbs chapter 3, verse 31.
Proverbs chapter 3 and verse 31. Envy thou not the oppressor, and
Thanksgiving is something of our oppressors. It's a tradition of our oppressors. Read.
And choose none of his ways.
No, choose some of his ways.
And choose none of his ways.
God says choose none of your oppressors' ways. Those are their customs. That had nothing to do with our people. And when it did, it was the massacre of our own brothers and sisters. Watch this. Give me Amos chapter 5, verse 21. Amos chapter 5, verse 21. While you praying, while you praying over that meatloaf, over that pork butt, over that chitlins. What else y'all eat? And then, what else y'all eat, man? Turkey, cranberry sauce, pumpkin pie, apple pie. Yeah, reminisce all you want, because God hey, he gonna judge y'all. Watch this. Amos chapter 5, verse 21.
Amos chapter 5 and verse 21. I despise your feast days.
God says, I hate Thanksgiving. I despise it when it comes up. Read.
And I will not smell in your solemn assemblies.
Read down to 23.
Though ye offer me burnt offerings and your meat offerings, I will not accept them.
Even though you have the turkey, even though you got the brisket, God says he's not accepting it. Read.
Neither will I regard the peace offerings of your fat beast. Take thou away from me the noise of thy song.
He don't want to hear that Luther Vandross you got going on. What Thanksgiving songs y'all be listening to?
Old school.
Yeah, old school. What's that on Baby Boy at the end of Baby Boy? It's that same classical Judite song, man. We listen to Compa. Before I let go, that be playing all the time. Go ahead.
For I will not hear the melody of thy vows.
That's it on 23.
That's it on that.
Watch this. Go to Judith chapter 12 and verse 1 and 2. This brother, she comes down, she was covert, but this is what he does, trying to get her to, hey, okay, it's okay. Look, I'm going to feed you because you about to set up your own people to destroy them for me. Watch this, not knowing that she was doing that just to get on his good side to chop off his head. Let me get that with you. Judith chapter 12, read verse 1 and 2.
Judith chapter 12 and verse 1. Then he commanded to bring her in where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine. And Judith said, I will not eat thereof.
She said what?
I will not eat thereof.
She said, hell no. Read it from the top again. Read verse 1.
Verse 1. Then he commanded to bring her in where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats, and that she should drink of his own wine.
Read.
And Judah said, I will not eat thereof, lest there be an offense.
Lest there be sin. Thanksgiving is sin. She said, I will not eat thereof. Now think about it. This man had the power to kill her. And he says, nah, I eat what God give me. I'll do what's ordained for my own people. I'll keep Feast of Dedication. I'll keep the Passover. I'm not going to eat of your meats. I'm not going to touch what you have. I have the things that are prepared for me. Read on. Watch this.
But provisions shall be made for me of the things that I have brought.
So read it again from the top. This is your answer for those brothers and sisters, because God says we are like the heathens. We like the Greekish fashions most of all. Read that again.
Then he commanded to bring her in where his plate was set, and bade that they should prepare for her of his own meats.
So when your family calls and says, oh, look, we got food, just come over, you can eat. Look, I got a plate ready for you. You don't have to stay. All you have to do is just come pick up a plate and go home. Read.
And that she should drink of his own wine. And Judah said, I will not eat thereof.
That's your response to your family members in the world. I will not eat of it. Because I have my own things prepared for me. I have my own days. Leviticus chapter 23. Leviticus chapter 23. Let's read verse 1 through 4.
Leviticus chapter 23, verse 1. And the Lord spake unto Moses, saying, Speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, Concerning the feast of the Lord, which ye shall proclaim to be holy convocations, even these are my feasts. 6 days shall work be done.
Jump down to verse 4.
Verse 4. These are the feasts of the Lord, even holy convocations, which ye shall proclaim in their seasons.
So we have over, if I'm not mistaken, 78, right? 78? We have about 77 plus holy days where we come together and we feast with one another. You about to switch that over for one day.
Right.
Every new moon, we come together and we have to have a feast. That's the beginning of every month. Feast of Dedication, the first and last day. Feast of Tabernacles, first and last day. Passover, first and last day. Purim, we come together and we feast. Nicanor, we come together and we feast. Pentecost, we come together and we feast. These are days that God ordained for you to be kept as laws for your salvation. Right. But you would rather trade that for one day, which is the death of your brothers and sisters, and you gladly eat over their dead bodies? Oh, thank God. Praise Caesar Borgia.
Right. And this how you know your family members and other people don't worship Christ, don't worship God, because when Christ was walking around in Jerusalem, who was reigning over Jerusalem? Rome, correct? Rome had 4 or 5 holidays per month to their gods. When do you ever read Christ celebrating any of them? 4 to 5 holidays a month. Christ never celebrated one of them. That's how you know our family members ain't truly following Christ. They truly ain't following what the Bible says, because you would have read at least one time Christ celebrating the Roman holiday.
Right. You didn't never hear him about it. He went into the temple to worship Jupiter.
Right.
Nothing.
So even this, when they instituted these holidays, right, Thanksgiving, Christmas, and all those days, how did they ever connect it with the scriptures? Did they once connect it to God? Right. Instead, they gave you a day off, right? And they told you, here, eat this food, eat that food. Not once did they connect the dots with scriptures to tell you, listen, this is of God. Right. This is a Christian nation. This is a Christian nation.
Give me 1 Thessalonians chapter 5, verse 21. Because think about this, right? That's 21. Abstain from all appearance of evil.
Yep. Correct.
Think about this, right? You trying to gain your brothers and sisters back. Majority of North American Indians, Native Americans reject the Holy Bible. They reject it. You coming to them trying to teach them who they are, but on Thanksgiving, you're eating over their dead bodies. How that look? Read that.
1 Thessalonians chapter 5 and verse 22. Abstain from all appearance of evil.
It says, abstain from all appearances of evil. Hey, brothers, is eating turkey a sin? When would it be a sin? But you're Israelites. How would you be buying a turkey on Thanksgiving, or you eating a turkey on Thanksgiving be evil? It's clean. Abel.
Like we just read, it says, avoid all appearance of evil. Why you, out of all the days of the year, you chose this day to eat turkey?
Right.
So, you know, it appears as you celebrating the holiday.
Exactly. So avoid all appearances of evil. It's not wrong to eat turkey, but why choose Thanksgiving to get a cold cut? Nah, you had 364 days out the years to have got a turkey, but you choose Thanksgiving to get it. Abstain all appearances of evil.
Hey, go to Isaiah 65, 11 and 12 to let you know how God ain't with it at all. Hit him with this. Isaiah 65, let's read 11 and 12.
Isaiah chapter 65, verse 11.
It's a tie in what you was talking about, officer. Go ahead.
But ye are they that forsook the Lord.
You forsake the Lord. Go ahead.
That forget my holy mountain. That prepare a table for that truth.
Hold on, our people are doing what?
Prepare a table for that truth.
Thanksgiving is preparing a table for what troops, brothers? The U.S. Cavalry. Andrew Jackson and them. You prepare a table in honor of what they did to your brothers. Read on.
And that furnished the drink offering unto that number.
You got the drink sitting out right there in front of you, right? Go ahead.
Therefore will I number you to the sword.
He gonna do what?
I will number you to the sword.
He's gonna wait on judgment day. He gonna get you. I'm a number. You are in the 2/3. Go ahead.
And ye shall all bow down to the slaughter.
To the what?
To the slaughter.
Go ahead.
Because when I called, ye did not answer.
God calls out to his people through what? Through the prophets, through these classes, through us on the street. Don't do that. Turn away from that sin. Abstain from all appearance of evil. Here's the books. Here's the history book. Here's the precepts. That's God calling out. But a lot of our people, they ain't answering. They just worried about filling their belly. Go ahead.
When I spake, you did not hear.
I ain't trying to hear none of that. This is a time for family. God is in the midst. Let us all hold hands and pray. Go ahead.
But did evil before mine eyes.
They did what?
Did evil before mine eyes.
You're in there drunk. You're in there fighting. You're in there glutton. To just eat so much, you go somewhere and catch the itis.
Please,
go ahead.
And did choose that wherein I delighted not.
Read that part again.
And did choose that wherein I delighted not.
God said, I despise your feast days. I hate it. I delight not into you preparing a table for that troop in honor of killing your brothers.
Right.
We used to scream black power while Heron was pushed. But at the end of the day, nothing's in vain. IUIC has been given a vision. The tents of Judah has risen. Many has attempted the mission. Minor murmuring, omitting, and missing the mark. Just reading that he had the flame of fire in his eyes gave us the spark. We on Paul's mission. We out on the road, purple and gold. From Mexico, Cuba, Haiti, Ghana, Sierra Leone. 144,000 boots banging, concrete crackling. These are our men repented at heart. The scriptures is proof. IUIC, we deliver the truth.